Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Gamers Command podcast with Sam Prime and Tori Kelly. How you doing, Tori?
I'm doing great, Sam. How are you?
I'm doing well. We have a hurricane, so it is a little bit cooler outside, but it's really hot in my room. We don't have AC at Busted, and no one works during a hurricane, as it turns out. Even though my brother-in-law literally owns an an AC company, he has no mechanics out on the road today, which makes a lot of sense. I'm
Yeah.
very hot.
Yeah, it's important to keep your employees safe, though.
No, I agree. Yeah, I was just sweating. My dog's back there, so if you hear him licking, it's he's just right now he's sleeping. But if you hear him
Oh,
licking,
he's so
it's because he's
cute.
hot. Yeah, he's adorable. That's Toby. One of my 3 pit bulls. All right, so we just returned from Nationals in LA, and what an experience. 2 of us made the top cut. 2 of us made Worlds. You ended up winning. Congratulations again. That is awesome.
Thank you. Thank you.
I think I think during my interview, I literally like was in tears. So I don't know how you made it through your interview. Like I was just so excited. I was so proud, and like so for you to make it, like I was also proud. It was like reliving it. I was just like super stoked. But then I was also like we were in a hurry to go get a show, and so we did like the
Yeah.
ceremony, and I was like, someone's got to take the mic away from Tori. I know how much he loves monsters. This interview won't end if you guys don't put him on a deadline, which was
Yeah,
pretty
they kind
funny.
of just took the microphone from me at the end. They're like, "Yeah, we got to go." I was like, "I'm gonna keep talking."
But now you have that space, so that's
Yeah,
good.
yeah.
That's good.
Tons of time to talk.
Yeah. So the first thing I wanted to do is I want to do a huge shout out to Key. Um, Key is a part of our team who controls our spreadsheets and keeps track of our data and make sure we're held accountable for that data. And you know, without him, my choices would not have been as clear. I mean, it's just really night and day difference when he can pull up a sheet and say, "Look, man, like your 64 win percentage on water fire, like even though you didn't do well with it in Raleigh, like your percentages don't lie. Like it's a good deck for you. You pilot it well, and you should probably be playing this deck. And same with Mono Earth. You know, when you look at the Mono Earth statistics, it was beating just about everything. And you know, despite I don't normally like to play like the best deck in the room. I think that people pretty much know that from me by now. But Mono Earth is definitely my playstyle. I've always played Earth decks.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
it was hard. It was hard to like not play that when like he showed me the data. And then just looking at the data for the other decks, like I just wasn't that impressed. Some of the decks that people were considering were like like Mono Water, for example. Like it had like a good matchup against some other like it had a good matchup against like most of the angry decks. But if I expected honestly like 50% of the people in the room to be on Mono Earth, 50% of the really good players to be on Mono Earth, and those are the players
And
you
it was
have to
more
be.
than that. I think it was close to 70% of the room was on
Yeah,
Mono Earth.
I don't know the exact statistics, but I do know that 11 out of the 16 players in the top cut were on Mono Earth. That's a lot.
That is a lot.
That is a lot.
And the ones that weren't, a lot of them were still on Earth-based decks, which
Yeah.
still would be good into Mono Water. So, like my deck, even though it wasn't Mono Earth, was still extremely favored into Mono Water. So, like that same idea of a larger percentage of the decks in the room were favored into Mono Water just by nature of where the format is right now.
Yeah, and the other thing is, so you could look at that data and you could say, all right, well, what if one of the things I was considering when we'll talk about the whole format change for sure, but one of the things I was considering is like, oftentimes when I'm building my decks, and the reason I do well at these events is that I'm building a deck to beat the majority of the room, and that was like my goal for almost every event. Unfortunately, that was also my goal last year for Worlds. And what ended up happening is I had decks that I felt would beat the majority of the room, but they weren't beating the good players. And that's a big thing that I worry about, right? And so like if you can't beat the Matthew Okimotos, the KPs, the Ryan Chens, the Sam Tools, if you can't beat these guys, you're not winning nationals. Like that's the reality situation. And so this year, I didn't want to just go with the deck that would like beat Knights and Chaos and get me to top cut. Like it wasn't enough for me to get the top cut. I wanted to win. And so you looking at this data that Key provided was like extremely helpful for that for me. Going into that a little bit, I do want to talk about the format switch because that did matter, right? So I know
Absolutely, yes.
I know for some people it didn't matter, and I can respect that. If for you it didn't matter, it just meant that the two decks you were choosing before were like good for both formats, possibly. But it doesn't necessarily mean that like for example, I don't know how if this switch mattered to you at all as far as your deck choices, but I can say that like it affected your tournament no matter what because it affected your opponent's deck choices. It's possible, with all due respect, you might not be the national champion if the format didn't switch because other people switched
I
their
don't
decks.
think I would be.
Yeah.
So my feelings about the format change are complicated. So when I first heard about it, I was very upset. Not because it was necessarily a worse format, but because it shouldn't have been changed with only 1 week left. Like it was too late to change. So the fact that they changed it at the last minute was upsetting to me.
Yeah, I do want to pause
Even
you.
though I knew deep down that it was beneficial to me.
I do want to pause you real quick though. Just because you said it's not necessarily a worse format, I do want to be very clear that it is a worse format.
Okay, but
It's just not drastically worse, but
I don't think
it is
it's
a
that
worse format.
significantly different. And
Yeah.
like I don't think that there should be 3 different formats at the same tournament. I don't think
Correct.
Swiss top cut winners and top cut losers should all be just different metas. That seems weird to me and
Very, yeah.
needlessly complicated. But I understand why they did what they did. I just wish that we had more warning. But then after the shock of hearing about the format change and being like, what the heck? I realized that what this probably meant was that less people were going to be bringing mono water because a lot of people were not going to bring a deck that just is going to randomly lose to the most popular deck in Swiss, right? Like if you're planning on making top cut and you bring mono water and half your rounds are against mono earth, that's not a winning solution. So I figured that meant that less people would be bringing mono earth plus mono water, which meant that Megissa stonks went up a lot. Because with mono water mostly taken out of the equation, there's really not many decks in the room that actually have a real winning matchup against Megissa.
It does also vary on your. It depends on your view on what the format changes mean. I mean, you say, well, because there's going to be less mono water, is interesting to me. Not because I disagree with you. I also think and knew that, or I can't say new because it's hindsight. Of course, I can just say new, like because I was right. But I also thought that there would be less mono water. I also thought that mono water was a worse deck to choose, which is why I ended up not bringing it. I did bring all the cards for it, but ended up not playing it. But several of our teammates did play mono water or were planning on bringing mono water, right? And they made that choice after this announcement, right? And so it's interesting. I do understand your viewpoint, but other people's viewpoint wasn't necessarily like, hey, like this makes mono earth better. It just means that like I guess what they thought was that like 50% of the room was already playing mono earth. Now we can just dodge it 50% of the time because they can't play it every round, I guess. I mean, I'm not saying that's the right thinking or not, but you know, just a counterpoint to what you're saying is that several people on our own team brought mono water.
They did, yeah.
Even though, again, I think we both are in agreement that that was not the best call.
Well, none of the people that brought mono water made top cut.
Correct, but you know, of course, that's not correlation equals causation. Like I would have to go. I'd have to look at key sheet to see if they won their mono water rounds or not, and they lost their other rounds. But
I mean, and there was some people that brought mono water that did make top cut, right? I believe there's 2 mono waters in top cut.
Yeah, so I have it up right here.
And Kevin.
Yeah.
So it's not like mono water wasn't in the room and wasn't performing. It's just that I felt that the change in the format would reduce the odds of me running into it.
Well, and also to be fair, like Ryan Chen's running like the Young Raw Hall, for example, which is that card is like extremely hard to kill for mono earth. So it's not necessarily traditional mono water. You know, he had made some concessions to like I have to be able to beat mono earth. And even if I had Young Rahal, I feel like I would still feel like at it. Ryan can correct me. I feel at best. I'm sorry, I said Young Rahal, but that's not the problem. It's Young Excel Milk that gives it problems. But having both obviously helps. But I still feel like you're at best at 50-50, which is sometimes as good as you're gonna get with Mono Earth, right? It's like fine.
I mean, most decks like that's basically what happens. Everyone at best gets like 50-50 against Mono Earth. I feel like my Monsters deck was like 50-50 versus Mono Earth. Megissa's 50-50 versus Mono Earth. Just no matter what you're doing, that's part of the reason why Mono Earth is the most popular deck in the format, is that it basically just goes 50-50 with everything, as far as I could tell.
Yeah, now I will say that the reason, and everyone has different experiences, obviously, and this is something that people should really take note of, is like your experience doesn't mean that it's true for all experiences. Everyone would tell me how Knight's worst matchup was Chaos Arc. Like that was the Knight's worst matchup, and I would consistently lose to Knights. And I thought I was an okay player, but I was consistently losing to Knights. It was very frustrating. And then they would tell me, well, then you got the Mono Water matchup, which is unwinnable. But I was like 3-0 against Mono Water in Chicago, for example. Like, the matchup didn't feel that hard to me. Like, everyone's experiences are always going to be different, right? People were telling me that, like, oh, the Water Fire deck can't really compete with Earth. At best, it's like a 45-65. And I was like, that's crazy. I'm crushing it pretty extensively. So obviously, like, your play styles go into that effect, right? So, like if you say like, okay, the Megissa Earth matchup is 50-50, like how you play Megissa probably highly changes that, right? Especially with Monsters is another example, right? Like if anyone can pick up the deck and play Monsters, but playing it the same style you do doesn't mean they're gonna, if they don't play the same style you do, they're not gonna have the same results, right?
Absolutely not, no.
Yeah, so I feel like that's it's really interesting that you have to take in not just the deck choice, but the way that it is piloted also matters highly.
Yeah, that's why I only put so much stock into our spreadsheets, right? Because like any of the games that are played by people that are not me, the data from those games I take with much less value. Because like I don't know if they're playing correctly. I don't know whether or not they're taking the right lines. Like if that's not the way I would have played that deck, then that data of whether or not it's a win or loss doesn't matter to me, because it doesn't affect what would happen to me in a tournament with that deck.
Yeah. Now, luckily with Key Sheet, you can just filter by your own data. So
yes, yeah, we can. Yeah. So we're lucky for that. We're lucky to have Key.
Yeah, very very lucky. Yeah. I will say for me, the format switch was it was frustrating that it happened. When we had like 7 days technically, or is it less tight? Depending on what time you woke up Saturday, like is how many days you had. And so for me, it was like extremely frustrating. I mean, it was mostly because we went from like the best format imaginable to me to like a good format. I think ABA is a good format. I just think it's fine. Like, yeah, it's just like the other format was the best possible format to me. And then to have that change, and then also like there was another change at Nationals. There was a format change at Nationals, and that change was during Swiss we would still go to sudden death instead of double loss, and that matters a lot. It didn't end up mattering to me. I didn't end up going to time in any of my rounds, but I had Zidane in my deck, so I had actually in both my decks I had Zidane technically. So I think that like it favors the player with Zidane in their deck, right? Because like no matter what happens, even if that Zidane is going to die, like they have to take several cards out of their hand to die, and unless one of those cards is Amaterasu, you're still going to take the card that kills. I don't know. So let's say I'm on fire. Let's say I'm on fire water, right? And like I go Edgar Zidane in sudden death. I'm like, I'm threatening to kill you. And you're like, I'll kill your guy. I know it's in your hand. I can also just play a Leo, right? And you spent your whole thing. You have to draw two and play your own Leo or play something else. And I think it puts you in just such worse shape. That being said, it didn't end up mattering to me. Doesn't mean that it didn't matter to anyone.
I mean, it mattered to me. But
it did. It did matter to you. You ended up losing a round. You didn't go undefeated. And I think
my hand was cracked that game. I 100% was going to win that last one too.
Right,
but it wasn't sudden death.
But you didn't. It was sudden death, and your opponent had it. He had everything.
He had everything just for sudden death.
Yeah, it was. I was there, and I was able to watch that match from the start, all of Game 3, and it was actually
all 3 turns.
Who was your opponent? Was that Kevin?
That was Kevin, yeah.
He played so perfectly and beautifully to absolutely beat you. And I know 90% of that is luck, but like
Oh my god.
he sculpted the hand, he built it, and it was exciting to watch. Of course,
Yeah.
afterwards you can say like there are different lines you had. Easy to say after that.
I played that better, yeah.
We always could, yeah.
I probably also should have just played faster in the first place and not had us go to time. But like, I should have known before we even started. He told me that he'd gone to time every single round.
Yeah, so I knew that too,
and I have both played faster and pressured him to play faster. Considering I knew from the get go that, oh god, this is gonna take forever.
Yeah, and I had known that he'd gone to time every round too. I mean, a lot of us are doing a lot of scouting, and it's really easy if your opponent goes around every time to know that they're going around every time and to know what decks they're on. And I actually wanted to tell you that, but you'd already sat down with him, and then he told you that. So I was like,
yeah, that should have been giving me alarm bells that, oh god.
Yeah, but it happens, and he was playing. Let's see, I know one deck was obviously mono water.
He was on a mono water deck with no win conditions. It was great.
Yep. Okay. Yeah. Mono water monsters. Yeah. Or Medine monsters, what it's called at least. And then the other deck looks like it was mono earth. Yep. With Sedanes. So he's favored there in the sudden death also. Assuming he can cast him, which obviously is a lot harder in that deck. Anyway, so I want to just talk about the experiences too and the people. I'll let you go first. Like, tell me about some of the experiences you had with some of the people you had.
Everyone that I played with was great this last weekend. Just I didn't have to deal with any like random sharking or any stuff like that. Everyone was just so nice. My first round, I played Aaron Wiseman. He was great. He was amazing.
I love Aaron.
Yeah, Aaron's amazing. I accidentally like cheated him out of the game. I didn't even realize it because I thought that all of my axe stars had been removed from the game. So he thought I was out of axe stars, which made him make a misplay when I had another one left. And I felt really bad about it afterwards because he told me, "Oh, I thought you were out of axe stars," and I should have like. So that was my bad. I'm so sorry, Aaron. I told him I did not intend to like deceive him.
So he'd asked you how many axe stars you'd seen, and
he didn't ask me how many axe stars had happened. What happened was I played Eodolus, trying to resurrect an axe star, but he had Shantoto'd my board, so there was none in the break zone. So I said, they're both removed. Because he'd actually Shantoto'd me at that point. He Shantoto'd LB'd my first board, and then Shantoto back up to my second board. And so when there was no axe stars in my break zone, I thought I'd played 2 at that point already, but I'd only played 1. So when there was none in my break zone, I didn't even check my remove from game pile. I just looked into my break zone, saw none, and said, oh, they're both removed. So he thought 2 had been used up.
I see.
And then later I played 1, and he thought that was the last one. And then when he killed it, I then played the 3rd one. And he's like, how the heck is there another axe star? He's like, I was like, I'm so sorry. I did not. Yeah. So that was my bad, Aaron. I'm really sorry about that. But and then I screwed him over more by losing my last 2 rounds because he's the bubble. He was 17th, and if I'd beaten Kevin in the last round, he would have made top cut. So I feel a little bad about that again because I kind of screwed him over twice.
Well, I do know that Aaron is a really good sport.
Yeah, Aaron was. It was my first game of the day, and like I was making so many like little misplays, and he was letting me like fix things. Like I would attack, and then like I'd like move my Bosch to the break zone when he blocked, and like wait a second, no, I'm supposed to cast Ifrit first, and he like let me do it, and like he let me. Thank you, Aaron, because I was just so nervous because it was just the first game of the day.
Yeah,
and he just made it everything after that just went so smoothly after he just let me get my nerves through. So I really have to thank Aaron. After that, I played Mike Powell, who I played multiple times this last weekend. He's always so much fun to play against. Then I played Brian Berkeley. We had so much fun messing around. Neither of us knew what our cards did. We pissed off Hunter. Hunter was dying. I mean,
to be fair, you pissed yourself off too because I was there for one point where I'm thinking the same thing. Like, why is he not attacking with Decipher? Right.
Well, now, that was after we were done. We
played
2 matches.
Correct. So I should probably say that right away. This is after the match is over. They're playing for fun, and Brian is not attacking with his Cypher, and Torrey is like, I don't know why you're not attacking with Cypher. He's like, I can't, and we're both like, read your Rajan, and he reads Rajan, and then Torrey says out loud, "I lost to this," and like points to Brian. I'm like, oh my god, oh man.
Like, you didn't even know what his cards did. I lost to him. Oh my god.
He knows what the Lorcana cards do. All right, he knows his Disney cards. Yeah. Apparently, like he made Worlds, right? So
yeah.
So
he knew what they did enough.
We'll catch him up. We'll catch him up by then.
Yeah. Hopefully he'll read Raijin.
Yeah.
Before Worlds. And then my last round was against Kevin. We discussed that. That was extremely grindy and long.
Yeah.
So that was day one. All lots of fun. Day two, I played against Chris Lopez, then Ryan Chen on stream, then Ray, then Mike on stream again, and then on Ray again on stream.
Nice.
And everyone was great. I didn't have any problems with anything. I got a warning from a judge because I drew with Guts Go accidentally. But there was no issue. I hadn't shuffled my hand or anything. We just stuck it underneath him. So that was close though. I almost got a game loss with Chris Lopez because I did it twice in a row. I just kept thinking he's Furion. I'm so used to playing Water Fire.
You attack with Guts Go instead of taking that top card and putting it under Guts Go, you put it to your hand.
Put it in my hand. Yeah.
But you didn't shuffle. It was sitting right there. Okay, got you.
Yeah. But no randomization had happened, and I immediately just went whoop and stuck it right underneath. So it wasn't a problem.
Gotcha.
But, for the rest of the day, that was my first match of the day, day two, and I was like, oh god, if I make any more mistakes,
so
game lost.
Yeah. So you need a little bit. You need a little bit of warm up from now on before your first matches.
Always the first game of the day gets me.
Gotcha.
With Aaron, I was making so many micro mistakes, and then with Chris, I made a couple there.
Gotcha.
But yeah, everyone I played with was great. I didn't feel like anyone was like being nasty or sharky or like trying to like do anything underhanded. Everything was great. As it normally is with Final Fantasy. This community is awesome.
Yeah, I had I don't want to get too involved with my one negative bad experience I had because I played so many people I had not had the pleasure of playing before, and I had so many good experiences. And then I played people that I've played many times before. I like Sam Toole, but I don't like to play against him. He's very good, and it's and I know that those are the matches you should want to, but like not when my World's invite's on the line. You know what I'm saying? And so like all of my matches were really good. We had a lot of fun. It didn't feel super high stakes, even though it was. My match with Sergio in the losers bracket in day two, for example, he made a mistake. He tried to fix it right away. I'm like, hey man, we're at Nationals. And he didn't throw a fit about it. He's like, yeah, you're right. And then I made a mistake, and he's like, oh, you can't take it back. I'm like, you're right. Like these. Yeah. This is that platform that we're in, and sometimes like your match with Aaron, like you guys will kind of let things go a little bit as long as it's not crazy. And my matchups we didn't. But everyone was super professional about it. Like no one was throwing a fit about it. I had even my matchup with Brian. I had a matchup with Brian, one of my teammates. And he just forgot to kill my Une post combat with Zach. And he's just like cool, but he's like, hey, I probably should have cast Zach there. And as I'm drawing my cards, I'm like, yeah, that would have been great. Really, that would have been a good choice. If you don't know about the one bad experience I had, I will say that like, it's with. I don't really want to start witch hunts, to be honest with you, so I don't want to go into it, but this everyone I know keeps telling me they had the same bad experience with the same person, and it's just I always want to defend that person because I think that they're really nice outside of card games. I hope the best for them. There's no reason to I don't want to start a witch hunt, but I hope the best for them. I hope that they realize that like yes, there's a lot of heavy prizing on the line, but it is a card game. We have to keep it somewhat cordial, and yeah, that's all I really want to say on it. Because honestly, I had so much fun. This is the most fun tournament I've ever had. Period. I think, like for sure, hands down. It like the competition was really good, but everyone was of high spirits. Even though I think there's a lot of frustration in the room. Right? There was a lot of frustration over the format switch, but everyone was in high spirits.
I think that's just people just want to play Final Fantasy. It's just a fun game. And so like people are willing to like put up with dealing with changes that they don't feel like they should have to deal with just because they just love the game that much.
Yeah.
And that's why I was there.
So I want to talk about how the event went a little bit. So no repairs. That is, I think a national first. I think.
Was there one last year?
I think so. Remember. I don't think we've ever not had one or a long extended break.
It was run very smoothly.
It was exceptionally run well. Yes, exceptionally run well. I mean, I felt like the judges did an amazing job. I mean, the best judges we've ever had, bar none. And then we had Kageyama, we had Morito-san. Having both of them in one room is like already
a star-studded cast.
I have so many cards signed now because I love both of those guys so much. They're my heroes. I have pictures with both of them. I think I have one from a Crystal Cup, one with Kageyama, one with Morito-san from a Crystal Cup one, because I used to travel with Crystal Cups, which was really cool. And then behind the scenes too, besides those guys, we had Will, we had Jen, and we had Sarah. I mean, they pulled us. They pulled out all the stops. It was hands down the best run event I've had from the judge's perspective, from the staff perspective, from the players' perspective. I didn't get to watch any of the stream, but it seemed like the stream went really well. I mean, I heard that Chocobo Joe and Ciorde did or sorry, I should call them Emo Tempest, but I heard that they did an amazing job. I heard nothing but good things about them. Joe kept wanting to get me. I kept begging Joe to get me on stream, and actually both times he was going to put me on stream. I think it was 3 or 4 times really, but the 2 major times it was going to be versus Ryan Chen or someone else who had just been on stream. So it's like he's like, I'm gonna get you on stream next round. Be ready. I'm like, great, awesome. At that time, I was like 4-0. I was like, yes, let's go. I'm going on stream next round. And he's like, your opponent Ryan Chen was just on stream. We'll try it the next round. And then Ryan Chen beat me, and I was like, oh, I think that hopes are starting to dwindle, And but I heard it went really, really well.
I did, after the event was over, I watched day 2. I haven't watched all of day 1 yet. I didn't play that many games day 1, so I didn't. Wasn't as interested in watching day 1. I like watching myself play, but no, the stream was really good. They had a great grasp of what was going on in the game, because sometimes with the casters, like, they don't really understand what's going on. But Chocobo Joe and Ema Tempest, Jonathan, did a really good job of keeping everything understandable and keeping up with the stream. I mean, keeping up with the game well. But also, they did it in such a way that even people that don't play the game, I think, could understand well. Like, my parents were watching, and they do not play Final Fantasy. They don't play any trading card games.
Yeah.
But they were able to enjoy the stream and enjoy what was going on. So I think they did a great job.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's the same thing. That's kind of the same feedback my brother gave me. Who my brother doesn't play any card games. I mean, maybe he played Magic back in the day, but never when they were streaming it. But he was saying that it was really good and really interesting to watch. So yeah, I mean, they did a really good job. As far as the team goes, so some interesting statistics from my team. Not everyone who tried to qualified, but I think that everyone who really grinded was out traveling trying to qualify did. I think everyone who traveled to 3 or more events qualified. I think besides the one person we thought would qualify at the end, who ended up, it was John, and John couldn't end up going to the LCQ.
I think Jerry went to 3 events, right?
Maybe Jerry did, yeah. Yeah, I was hoping Jerry was going to come to the LCQ, honestly. Well, so where I was going with this is after qualifications were done, I mean, I guess pre-LCQ, post-last LQ, I think there was some consensus in our group, at least, the ones that were still testing, that, hey, all of the people that are still testing are the ones already qualified. Where's the support from those who didn't qualify? And then I think there's this realization that, all the people who were testing weren't testing because they were qualified. Those are the people who have been testing the whole time.
Yeah.
And so I guess what it felt like to me is that, I know that there were several people on our team who were disappointed with their finish at Nationals. And I can understand that and I can respect that. But the people who put in the work really made it. And there's something to be proud about for that, for making it 2 Nationals. You know, it's cool that I'm going to Worlds. I'm super proud of you for winning Nationals. But there's something to be said about these guys who put in the work and then made it to the event and made it to Nationals, because it's not easy. I feel like people will argue that like they doubled the number of LQs and that should make it easier to qualify, but I think it made it actually much harder to qualify because they doubled the number of LQs, but they didn't double the number of times that placements that occurred, right? So last year it was top 2, this year's top 1. So even if they double the number of LQs, it doesn't mean that people can travel twice as much, right? So I just want to say I'm really proud of those guys on my team who are grinding for that qualification. I know that a lot of them, like Armand, I think Jean, Travis, Jerry, like had they been able to go to the LCQ, I think they would have gotten that qualification. I don't have any doubt in my mind about that. So, but it just the amount of testing that these guys put in, I'm really proud of. And if
they put in so much work.
Yeah, and when I talk to, a lot of times I was talking to I've been talking to Ray a lot. I really like Ray quite a bit. I've had a lot of really good experiences with Ray, both in card games and at parties. The guys at parties, well, because we party with Pete and he's crazy. But his team, the guys who were putting in the work and testing there, also made it for the most part. And not everyone, of course, but it just shows that like what a healthy format we have, where if you really grind and you put in the work, then you can qualify. And I really like that.
But something to remember is that it's still a card game, right?
Yeah.
Like you're not winning a Materia Cup or even an LQ or God forbid Nats without some amount of luck, right? Like it could have been anyone that entered the room in that day could have come out with the trophy. I am well aware that I was really lucky to only brick basically one time the entire event, right? I was lucky. And now the fact that it happened in the finals, I was a little unfortunate, but we pulled through. But like anyone could have come in there and won that tournament. Just because I put in a lot of work doesn't mean I was going to come out with that trophy. So I said this after Chicago, and I said this after Winter Cup, and I'm saying this again after Nats. Like, just because you win doesn't mean that it wasn't luck. There's always luck involved.
For sure.
Just the fact that the real skill, at least the way I see it, is putting yourself in a position to take advantage of the luck. And I think that's what I was able to do this last weekend.
No, that's a really good point, because I don't want to like undermine the amount of effort that someone like Key went through, who I guess even between him and Anthony, if you combine the amount of games on that spreadsheet between Key and Anthony, I would say that they at least double every other person's games. If I had to guess, it might be triple. It's close. They would double or triple everyone else's games combined. Period.
Yeah, exactly. They put in so much work, and like Anthony in particular was also so close to making Top Cut.
Right. Yeah, and that's starting up. He started 0-2 and then just crushed out, and then lost the last one. He had insanely good breakers too. He was on table 5 the last round, right? I mean,
heartbreaking.
Yeah. But what you said, you have to also be lucky. And I think that like I try to explain it to people so many times. They're like, oh, are you gonna, are you gonna win this event? Or like if I go back to, God forbid, I go back to Kansas, right? They're like, oh, are you gonna win this event? And it's just like, do you know how hard it is to win an event? Like it's not just about. You're right. It's not just about how much time you put in, right? It's what you draw that day, what your opponents draw that day. I mean, there's a lot of luck involved. But again, I think because what I'm getting at, because the metagame is what it is, I think it's like, well, we'll probably gonna say that for another video because I don't want to go on a tangent. I don't want to go on too much of a tangent. I'm just like, well, actually, I do have my gripes, but if you play, listen, if you play Mono Earth and you play Water Fire and you play Magissa, you're gonna top cut. Like, come on, just try. Just try. Yeah. But my brain is also like, if you just play these decks that are insanely good, like Mono Earth, like you just top cut, like. But I don't know if that's necessarily where we want to go. So we
there
won't.
was a lot of
Go
people
into
playing
that.
Mono Earth in that room that did not make Top Cut.
Yes. There's a lot of people that are in that were playing Mono Earth that didn't make top cut. So yeah, there's still a lot of luck involved. I want to talk a little bit about Worlds.
Okay.
Worlds is, let's see if I pull it up. We have, let's see, less than 3 months, so just over 2 months, right? 2 months in a week.
Yeah.
It's like close, maybe 2 months in like a week and a half. We have 2 or 3 cards spoiled, right? Is that where we're at? Like,
we have Clive, Belgiumine.
well, we have this excellent website called Materia Hunter that will actually just tell us.
Oh, and Ifrit. Okay, those are all the ones that we have the effects for.
We have Clive, Ifrit, Neon, and Belgiumine. Oh, and Gal. Yeah.
So there's 5 we have the effects for. Oh, and Warrior of Light. Can't forget him. But
well, no, is that card going to be legal?
Is he not legal?
I don't think so. Garnet's not legal.
Is Garnet not legal?
No, I think you have to wait till it comes out in the set to play it.
Then why do I even have it?
I don't know.
But there's also a Bahamut, a Bosch, a Gilgamesh, LB, No,
so
Legend Realm.
No, we both know we're both excited for that.
Yeah, we're excited for that. A Velis, Tomberry and Cactar LB, and a Zidane LB, and a Null. Yeah. So we know a bunch of the names, but we don't know what their effects are yet. I had Muhammad asking me today, and to be fair, I have, at times people hit up the DMs and they're like, hey, what do you think about this deck or this deck? And, normally I try my best to give a response, very honest, like, hey, here's what I like or here's what I don't like. This week I've been like, look, man, I'm on a break. I don't plan on touching anything until I beat Final Fantasy VII Rebirth and Final Fantasy 16. So I haven't touched anything, period. But another reason for that is that if you look at historically at Worlds, the format changes hugely from set to set, and there's never been more apparent than looking at the Worlds decks, right? Last year, I think the winning decks were Water, Ice, Rug. Oh, Wall 7. Okay, but the breakout decks was Water, Ice, Rug. Yeah, so
and
Mono Ice
Wall
Rug,
7.
Water, Ice Rug, and Wall 7.
Yeah, so those
are 3 big breakout decks.
Right, and those decks were not obviously possible prior to the newest set. And I think that's something to kind of consider, is that people are asking me oh well, when you start testing, it's well, when I know at least 50% of the set.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I think that Clive could be really good as soon as I find out exactly what he does with everyone.
Well, we know what Clive does, but we don't know what the rest of the stuff does. Well, we know what priming does, so I guess we don't technically know everything that Clive does.
Exactly, and we know that Belgiumine seems like, or Belgiumine, I don't know. I'd say Belgiumine.
I presume it's pronounced Belgiumine, but
so we know that Belgiumine on the surface is a 1CP summoner that's Cat 10 that buries 3 guys. It seems really good, but
that's a good start.
Are we playing forwards in this set? Are we playing all monsters? Are we playing a bunch of this card alone wants you to play a bunch of summons? So
yeah.
Are we playing a bunch of summons? I don't want to
touch green cards.
Is priming only summons, right? I mean, we don't know.
I think you prime into the forward versions of the summons.
Okay, so
revealed Ifrit already.
If you prime into the forward summons, we don't know if some sort of that effect means that you can only have Clive on the field. We have no idea how that works, right? Exactly. So we don't know what the format's like. So if you look at this Mono Wind Legend card and you're like, hey, this card seems busted, it's I could tell you so many cards that we thought were busted when they're the first Legend spoiled, and then those cards don't see any play at all.
Yeah. I mean, also but when the set first came out, everyone was losing their minds over the Wish of the Fens. And then by the end of the set, it's basically none of us except for just the dedicated monster people are touching Wish of the Fens.
Well, no,
Um,
that's not really true. I mean, me and you might be monster players, but the water players also touched it.
a bunch of them are, but like it's not
They
nearly
were
as
they
dominant as
already
people
yeah
expected.
they already had 10 to 12 monsters in their deck already,
Yeah,
right? So
so
it's
like,
like why not draw a card and kill a few things on the way out?
but like people were like saying that Witch of the Fence is like the end, and it just turns out she's just a really solid card. She's not like insanely broken like people thought
Yeah,
she was going to be.
yeah, she's not even a 3 of in a lot of lists, and I think that's actually
Yeah,
correct. It's correct to not have her as
yeah,
3 of. I think there are definitely lists out there where 3 is correct, and there's definitely probably lists where 1's correct. I'm sure there's monster decks where 0 is correct, but that's not most of the time. I'm sure. I'm sure you need. Well, there's decks certainly that exist where you want to realm Atomos Evere, and then maybe have like 1 backup for each of these things, and then maybe it's correct not to have Witch of the Fens in those
yeah.
decks.
Oh yeah. So if your only realm targets are like Atomos Evere, and you're just using realm as a form of ramp,
Yeah.
then yeah. So like I have so many realm decks, but yeah, I have some realm
Sure,
decks
yeah.
with very low, very low monster counts.
Yeah.
Yeah, you wouldn't run Witch in, but those aren't really monster decks. Those are just using realm as just the
Sure.
best ramp tool in the game.
Sure. So they're not dedicated monster decks.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I will say that I did a funny thing this time for my deck choices. I tried to make at least half of each of my decks in Japanese, and this was such a really weird goal for me. And my goal was like that I'm halfway there already. Like that was my inside joke with my girlfriend that like, hey, I'm halfway there already. Like this is why I'm getting Japanese cards. I want to be halfway there. And I don't think it really helped me get there in any type of way. But hey, look, this year I'm going to Japan, and last year I did not. So
it clearly got you there.
Last year I played 0. Okay, so to be fair, there's kind of a story. This year I've only been. I knew I was going to be playing monster decks a lot. So I've only been getting Japanese monster cards. Well, we were pretty high on Tyvis for a while, so I had like the Tyvis cards. Most of my Earth decks. Most of my monster decks were Earth decks, so I had a lot of like random monster. Like I had like the Epitaph already in Japanese. I had the Kolkos in Japanese, the Clarises in Japanese. It's like they're monster cards, really, right? Tyvis is a monster card, right?
I mean, early in our testing, yeah.
yeah. I mean, you eventually abandoned, but I think it's so you can make a little bit more room in your other decks for some more monsters. But yeah, I mean, so I just thought that was a really funny fact that I had some Japanese cards to kind of be halfway there. I am excited to get the rest of the way there when I get to Japan. I'll be searching like crazy to like buy more Japanese cards.
Yeah, let's see if I can get some Japanese mirrors.
Which ones?
The lightning ones in particular.
Okay, the full art ones.
Full art
yeah.
one. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I have one full art Japanese one.
I have so many of those cards. It's just I think it's the prettiest card in the game. So
no,
maybe I'll get a whole binder of them at one point.
Actually, all of the mirrors are the prettiest cards in the whole game, right? Maybe like
the Earth ones are.
Yeah, I guess the 2 and the 1, but like the water, the 4-drop Opus, the Opus 4 2-drop is like.
Yeah, they're all 2-drops.
Yeah.
Other than the 1 cost one.
Yeah, that card is actually insanely beautiful. Yeah. Like that should be a full art, obviously, but that's a whole different subject.
Maybe we can work on that.
I don't think so. I don't think they let you. That's a legend, by the way.
I forgot. Yeah.
Yeah, they don't let you choose legends, right? That's the legend, and Gao is the other legend from that set from Opus 4.
I wasn't playing back then. Don't ask me.
Okay, all right. Well, we'll just take it from me that the legends from Opus 4 Water were Gao and Mir.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know that. I don't know that for any particular reason. Yeah, me too. I got them in Japanese too, by the way, if you need some.
Oh, no, I bought like 2 playsets of them because I was heavily considering Mono Water Monsters for that at the beginning, and I was running Mira in there.
Nice.
I think I was running one of her and one of the Lightning, and I could do both.
Yeah.
For different matchups, and she's still a really solid card.
For sure.
In the right lists.
So outside of that, what are you excited about for Japan? I mean, I know competing is a huge thing, but like, what else are you excited about? Have you been to Japan?
So I've never even left the country. I didn't even get my passport until after I won in Chicago. Because once I won in Chicago, I was like, well, now the chance of me going to Japan is significantly higher with the buys, so I should probably get my passport.
I thought the same thing last year, but it didn't work out for me. Anyway.
Yeah. But anyway, so I finally got my passport so I can leave the country. I don't know. My brother, he doesn't even play the game, but he watched the stream on Saturday, and he wants to go to Japan, so he might come with me.
Oh,
so
that's
I'm
awesome.
really excited to potentially go to Japan with Jim. That's really exciting.
That's funny.
Beyond
I'm actually going to Japan with my brother also too, but not until March. So my plan was my plan was always to go to March with my brother, and now my plan is to go twice. I haven't been back in 10 years, and now I'm trying to go twice.
Where was Nats? I mean, the World's the year that you went.
It was in LA.
It was in LA. Oh,
yeah, I'm glad you have
excited.
glad you guys have a side profile because the camera's over there because my face was not excited. I have been to LA so many times. I was not excited that that's where Worlds was. But I will say that when they announced that this year's Worlds was also in Japan, I was like, it is destiny. I'm coming back for it. I let the first one slip. And we're not going to let this one slip. I told myself, we are not letting this one slip. So yeah, I'm really excited to be going.
Okay, yeah, I'm really excited to be going too.
Yeah, yeah, anyway, I guess that's all. Any other last shout outs you want to give out to?
Not really. Oh, Ghoul for helping us test. Remember you mentioned that earlier?
He's on the top of my list. Yeah, it's funny.
Yeah.
Well, you were on the top of our list. You and Key.
Yes. Just once again, everyone that helped run the event this last weekend, it was just beautifully run. I know that people were upset, but just everything was just so great.
It was really good. Now there are. I want to be selfish and say that there are some people that I personally really, really, really want to give a shout out, and it's not much about thanking, even though these people did. So these two people did help me get to Worlds. That's Steve Dolan of the YYT and Ghoul, because I talked a lot of format with them. But more so, I'm just wishing them the best of luck in their events these coming weeks, because I would love to see them at Worlds. I would love to be able to collaborate with them at Worlds. So I'm wishing Steve and Ghoul the best of luck. I don't know when Steve's is. I know it's pretty close, but I know Ghoul's is in 2 weeks. So best of luck to you guys.
Yep.
But, all right. Other than that, thanks for tuning in. I'm so sorry that it's been this long since you've seen Torrey and I. I know last time we were on here, we had like a pretty good, a pretty fun little discussion. I promise you it won't be that long before you see us again. We don't have much to do now, so we have a break.
Couple videos I'm working on. I should hopefully get some stuff up in the next week about deck talks, about going into detail about the decks I ran at Nats, as well as this video I've been working on for over a month now, but has been on the back burner, about monster choice in monster decks, specifically Evray. I've been working on that every video, but I had to put it aside because I was doing Nats prep, and I just got home from work every day and was just like, I do not have time to work on this video.
One of my favorite things is
help people out.
One of my favorite things is Torrey Math, so I am very excited for a Torrey Math every video.
Torrey Math?
Torrey Math. Torrey Math. If you guys don't know what Torrey Math is, go watch his video on Realm. It is so good. It is so good. And just how excited he gets. And I look, this is not a dig because I know you're a mathematician, but when Torrey does math with Realm, we get into the fourth dimension and mechanics start switching in, and it's so good. It's like by the time Realm hits, he has saved us 9 CP. It is so good.
It's true. It's true. That card's worth.
You see? There it is.
We're only paying 5.
There it is. Okay. Anyway, I hope you guys look forward to Torrey Math on the Evray, because I know it's going to be phenomenal. Yeah. Anyway, thanks a lot, guys. Tune in next time.
Peace, guys.